You're watching CBS 8 Mornings at 6.
We begin with breaking news at this hour. New information on a house fire in Pacific Beach. The homeowner suspects it was started by his Tesla Charger, but the exact cause still under investigation by firefighters.
We have learned everyone is safe as our photographer pans over from that Tesla to the home. You can see all the damage to the front there. And all of the belongings in the front. You see that's the garage. This is a live picture here. Happened just before 2:30 this morning in the 1100 block of Sapphire Street. Looks like the homeowner's out there out front talking to investigators right now. The fire was contained to that garage. Glad everyone is going to be okay there. It is 6 a.m. on this Wednesday, day after Election Day. So glad you are with us. I'm Eric Connors.
And I'm Nada Iranpour. Before we get to all the numbers with the election results, let's talk about the temperatures out there. Pretty comfortable this week so far, Evan.
Yeah. Really nice.
Yeah.
It's been cooling down a little bit from where we were over the last couple days. But with that cool down, takes us to just about 3, maybe 4 degrees below normal and to a much more fall-like range as this trough of low pressure makes its close approach. We've got an abundance of clouds out there. Luckily, those clouds are not too low down to the ground. So it's just an overcast, if not partly cloudy start to the day. In the far right corner of the screen, way out in the distance there, you can see that setting moon. That is your super moon. So it's 99% full and beautiful sight as it sets right now. Sunrise coming in just about 10 minutes at 6:10 a.m. Want to send things over to Vanessa Paz, who's checking in on traffic this morning.
Hey, good morning. 6:01 is the time on your Wednesday. We're halfway through the week, guys. I have to say we have nice drives to help us get us there. This is what it looks like on the 5 as you make your way through the curves headed into downtown San Diego. Some light brake tapping, but nothing significant by any means as we switch gears and see what's happening on the 78 coming at your screen is that drive as you make your way towards Nordal in from Escondido. This is typically a parking lot, and right now it's looking fairly light, but things are starting to pick up and they will continue to do so as we get into the 6 o'clock hour. All right, we're dealing with some fog, but it's not really impacting our major freeways, especially towards the metro area. We're looking at pretty good shape when it comes to visibility. 30-mile-per-hour speeds if you're headed northbound on the 805. Other than that, we're at full freeway speeds south of there on the 5, all in the green, 65, 70 miles per hour. So making your way in from Chula Vista and National City. Back to you guys.
Tonight, after poking the bear, this bear roared with an unprecedented turnout.
This morning, California Democrats are declaring victory after voters overwhelmingly passed Proposition 50.
The yes vote has nearly 64% of the vote, the no side with 36%. The measure will temporarily redraw the state's congressional map to favor Democrats. It's a response to efforts by Republicans in Texas and other red states at the request of President Trump.
CBS 8's Regina Yorita live in Escondido now to tell us how this will impact one of San Diego's congressional seats. Regina.
Yeah, good morning, Neda and Eric. And at this point, the first batch of ballots show that Proposition 50 is leading to pass. Now, Democrats have declared victory at this point. It's backed by Governor Gavin Newsom, and it's essentially asking voters whether the state should redraw its voting district maps by making several Republican congressional districts in California more favorable to Democrats in the 2026 midterm elections. Proposition 50 ended up on the ballot to counter recent redistricting in states, including Texas, that favors Republicans. So this morning, we're already seeing reactions from Democrats and potential candidates vying for a House seat that will now flip because of Prop 50. The new map reshapes the 48th district race between San Diego City Council member Marnie Van Wilpert and Republican Representative Darrell Issa. In a statement, Van Wilpert writes, "I'm ready to take this fight to every neighborhood, hold Issa accountable for raising costs and siding with extremists, and deliver a fairer, safer, more affordable future for working families." On the other hand, Congressman Darrell Issa writes, "The worst gerrymander in history has a fatal flaw. Voters get to pick the representatives, not the other way around. I'm not going anywhere. I'll continue to represent the people of California, regardless of their party or where they live." So back out here, we also know that Amar Kampa Najjar is also vying for this seat. He is a Navy officer, and on social media last night, he did support Proposition 50, something that we are seeing in Democratic candidates. For now, I'll send it back to you.
Regina, thank you very much for that update. And now Poway voters are overwhelmingly supporting the recall of City Councilman Tony Blaine with 80% so far. Blaine faces accusations of threatening fellow council members, attempting bribery, and misusing law enforcement to silence critics. He reportedly sent threatening emails to colleagues demanding they vote for a special election or face recall themselves. Blaine is an Army Reserve doctor who is currently deployed. He will face felony charges in court in January.
This morning, Democrats are celebrating wins nationwide. Zohran Mamdani, a 34-year-old Democratic socialist, is set to become New York City's first Muslim mayor. In New Jersey, Democrat Mikey Sherrill won a tight governor's race. And in Virginia, Democrat Abigail Spanberger made history, becoming the state's first female governor. On social media, President Donald Trump said pollsters blamed the GOP losses in part on the government shutdown. This morning, the federal government shutdown, now the longest in U.S. history.
And right now, there are mixed messages from the Trump administration about what's happening with food benefits that so many rely on. CBS 8's Chris Grow live along Harbor Island with what the White House is saying and what it means for many here in San Diego who are waiting for those details. Chris.
Yeah, and the issue yesterday is that there were a number of different messages coming from the White House. You have the president with his direct line to the people as he uses social media so much, putting out a post saying that SNAP benefits would be withheld. And then you had his press secretary coming in saying, well, no, actually, hold on, they are still going to go out. So a dizzying back and forth there, especially after it took two judges to rule that the administration had to go at least pay partial SNAP benefits. We're also hearing from local politicians again, demanding that these benefits get paid out soon.
American people need urgency. Emergency funding must be fast-tracked and loaded onto their EBT cards immediately. That's what we're fighting for, and we won't let up until San Diegans have access to the support they need.
And now Supervisor Tara Lawson-Remer and Supervisor Paloma Aguirre, who you just heard from directly there, who again delivered that message publicly. And then we saw the entire Board of Supervisors vote unanimously to send a letter to the federal government demanding that SNAP benefits, known here in California as CalFresh, be distributed as quickly as possible to those CalFresh recipients here in San Diego County. Nearly 400,000 of them rely on the SNAP benefits to find out where their next meal will come from, to buy groceries from the grocery store. Now, of course, what's at odds here is the fact that we have a government shutdown. Programs like SNAP don't have funding right now. The Trump administration says that, again, that this costs about $8 billion a month to fund, and they have about $4.6 billion in contingency funds. So that does mean that only partial payments will be going out in the month of November. Again, you also have that mixed messaging about whether or not it would still be withheld, if it would go out. Here's the press secretary talking about that.
Digging into a contingency fund that is supposed to be for emergencies, catastrophes, for war. And the president does not want to have to tap into this fund in the future. And that's what he was referring to in his Truth Social post.
Yeah, again, it was a bit iffy because the wording that the president was using was talking about the current shutdown and for Democrats to come to the table now. So again, it's confusing to hear her say that it's about the future when we could not be in a government shutdown in the future. But of course, we still remain at odds, both sides not coming to the table, getting together to end the government shutdown. We'll have to see exactly what happens today or later this week with more votes. Eric and Meta.
All right, Chris Grow reporting on that. Thank you, Chris.
You saw the clouds in his live shot, and right there, Evan.
Yes, there they are. It is a trough of low pressure that's arriving along the western U.S. that's allowing for almost the entirety of the West Coast to see that cloud development. It's encouraging onshore flow. In Washington, Oregon, and Northern California, they're all seeing rain in the forecast, but this is still pretty far off from us to be able to lead to that in San Diego. Instead, we've got the cloud cover. We've got the cooler temperatures that we're feeling, and we also are going to be noticing some wind this afternoon. So today's forecast takes us to the low 70s inland and toward the mountains. That is about 4, maybe 5 degrees cooler than normal. Along the coastline, we're only about 2 degrees off of normal. 68 degrees is that forecast high. And we all should be looking at partly cloudy skies into that afternoon stretch. Wind gusts in Julian are going to get particularly breezy, upper 20, maybe even low 30-mile-per-hour winds coming off the coast and onto the western slopes of the mountains. West southwest winds that we'll be watching for all the way through the afternoon, but at least we get that sunshine that'll be beaming down on us. Also want to mention what's going on along the coastline. We've talked about the super moon, but in combination with that low pressure system, we've got some sets of 5-foot waves, maybe even some 6 to 8-foot waves by tomorrow. When we look at that risk of rip currents, it remains high for the remainder of the week, and our high tide comes at 7:56 a.m., could be almost 7 feet above sea level, which could possibly warrant some minor coastal flooding. That's going to be the low-lying boardwalks, parking lots, beaches. That should all be watching this morning for the possibility of that. There's a better risk of it tomorrow, and then it starts to diminish by the time we get into the upcoming weekend. But in the meantime, at least we don't have a ton of fog to start off the day, much less of a problem than what we've seen for those past mornings. Want to send things over to Vanessa Paz, who is checking in on traffic as we kick off the morning. There are a couple spots that we do have a little bit of fog out there, but not nearly as bad as other mornings.
Yeah, it's not nearly as widespread. And even yesterday, we saw a good amount of improvement versus Monday. Here's what it looks like on our traffic maps. Again, all that yellow indicative of where we're seeing the most dense fog. And it's in Borrego Springs, Julian, so not really along our major freeways, thankfully, as you make your way towards the coast in the metro area. All right, look out for a breakdown. This is actually causing some slowing. This is on the 805 North, right at the 8th split. A motorcycle broke down on the shoulder, and it's causing a little bit of brake tapping as you make your way passing the 15 freeway, headed towards Mission Valley as you make your way down that hill towards the interchange. Other than that, we're at full freeway speeds. No major issues, headaches to complain about, anywhere between 50 to 70 miles per hour. So as you travel in from the National City and Chula Vista area. Meanwhile, full span of the Coronado Bridge, we're averaging about 60 mile per hour speeds. Full span headed towards the toll booths, and about 65, 72 or so in from Santee, as well as the La Mesa and Grossmont neighborhood. At 611, we're also at full freeway speeds from Oceanside and Escondido. And here's what it looks like outside. This is the 805 in both directions. Right side of your screen is that drive as you head northbound in from the South Bay, passing Home Avenue. This was the 52 at the 125 split, but it looks like this camera crashed here. But yeah, we're also, oh, here we go. So we're also looking at pretty nice drives if you're coming in from Santee this morning. All right, 6:12 is the time. Let's go ahead and pull up those border wait times for you. We're tracking over an hour in from San Ysidro's port of entry, about an hour and a half, meanwhile, in from Otay Mesa at last check.